It's the 10 to 1 podcast with your host, Brad Ullman, featuring Ben Conowitz and Nate Laux. And here's the podcast.
Are we live from a cruise ship? That sounded like a cruise ship announcer that time.
Maybe. I wish we were. We should take
Here
the
on
10 to 1 podcast.
Caribbean resorts and retreats.
Good.
Is that one of
Took
them?
you too long, I guess.
Is that one of them?
I don't know. Disney Dream.
Yeah, Carnival Cruise Line.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, Nate, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm great, man. Brad, how are you?
Do you think they have podcasts recorded on cruise ships?
Absolutely. Have you heard Under Down Under?
I wonder if they
the
have
Australian Below Decks podcast.
Maybe they have like a local podcast, like just on board the ship, like telling you about stuff. And if you like people you download it every day, you're like, oh, we should go down to floor 9. They got a comedy show down there.
I mean, there has to be podcasts because there's like a whole shows, right?
Yeah.
Reality shows.
Hey, welcome back to Yachts of Fun, where cruise ships. I can't even say it. I was so hung up on Yachts of Fun.
Palm Cruise.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like it.
That would
Anyway,
that would be my
a podcast away.
Hey, if
for
our listeners
that might be bad.
Yeah, they wouldn't. You
don't want to.
You're gonna get that on Royal Caribbean.
You don't want to make people think about.
You're not gonna get that on Princess of the Seas. You're gonna get that on Royal
our
Caribbean.
listeners are getting top end comedy right now.
Well, this goes hand in hand with the cruise sketch from this episode of Saturday Night Live.
Oh,
We're really tying things together, Nate. Get on our level.
This is a 10 to 1 podcast, a show where we review and recap every new episode of Saturday Night Live, at least for the past year and a half, I guess. We just started season 48. This podcast began with season 47 previous year, and now we're just moving right through this new season. This is the third episode of season 48, hosted by Megan Thee Stallion, pulling double duty as host and musical guest this time. And we're just going to get right into the episode, I think. Right, guys?
Double booty duty.
Oh, that is true.
Oh.
She did do a lot of
There's a
double
lot of
booty duty.
stuff in the booty.
Speaking of stuff in the booty, cold opening, January 6th. The January 6th committee, Kenan Thompson, Mikey Day, Heidi Gardner, Andrew Dismukes, Michael Longfellow, gives their closing statements for investigation of attack of the Capitol. We get back to some political sketches to open the show. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think?
Well, it's been a while, I think, since we've gotten top-notch, typical political satire from SNL. And I think that we will all agree that this was absolutely a return to them being shitty.
Okay. I do have a question because I was thinking about when I was watching this, I thought about this question. Did you guys actually watch the hearings from this day?
I have seen some of the highlights. I didn't watch like the entire C-SPAN all day.
That's what I was wondering.
Time?
Like,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you're
yeah. What nerd has time to watch C-SPAN all day?
Who keeps up with current events?
What are you, my dad? Well, I was watching C-SPAN all day.
They're making fun of some things that I'm going to guess 99% of America did not see.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know, because the stuff that they did highlight, I feel like they did what came out in like the highlights that you would see like on the evening news or on CNN. Like they have the whole thing that airs, obviously, but then later on throughout the day, they'll replay the bits that were like the most important, and like you'll see clips emerge online and stuff like that. And so like for me, who didn't sit there and watch the entire trial all day while I was working, like I recognized everything that was happening here that came from whether it was the Daily Show or any of all that stuff. So
there's a couple things I did like about this sketch. So James Austin Johnson is always great. Like his Trump still isn't old to me. It's still good every time he does
the jokes that they did for Trump though felt
this time was different.
stale. Like
it
the
was fine.
The fact that they handed him a Diet Coke while he's sitting on the toilet.
Yep.
It's like what is this? Like 3 years ago?
Yeah, I get that, but his impression itself just
absolutely
is always just flawless.
Yeah.
And so
Kenan seemed like he was having more fun than usual as whoever he played. It was like he was literally enjoying himself on screen, and usually he'll play that in a game show role or something. He'll have fun with it, but he's pretty much a straight man or a dry man in most of these, and he really did look like he was like kind of bemused at the entire situation. So I think something was going on. Either other cast members were making him laugh or something. It was a little different than normal.
Yeah.
Sarah Sherman, I thought, was hilarious.
Yes.
As Chuck Schumer.
Oh, God, yes.
Absolutely.
If you did watch any of the clips, Chuck Schumer at the insurrection in these video clips that were taken by Nancy Pelosi's daughter comes across pretty much just like that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what do you like? Nancy Pelosi's handling everything right now, and you're just like, there's this one clip, and it's not even SNL, it's a real clip. And she's like, well, I just talked to the vice president, and he goes, and I just talked to the vice president elect, and she's like, okay. It was so painful to watch. It was so awkward. I thought Chloe Fineman was fine as Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good dynamic. They riffed off each other, even though it's a scripted show, obviously.
Yep.
But knowing when to come in on your line and when to step on each other, even if it's scripted, you don't rehearse that over and over and over and over again. They did a really good job.
But Adam Kinzinger role, that wasn't funny to me. Everything else pretty much wasn't funny.
Yeah, they do that thing where they the guy from he's a character in the movie Smile.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of pop culture.
Adam Schiff. Yeah,
that stuff.
Which again, I feel like for things to be funny, they need to at least be kind of what they're like, or you can see how they can mock it that way. It's really not Adam Schiff. Like I just didn't get that joke. I think
that one of who did Dismukes play?
Kinzinger.
So didn't he look down at his nameplate? And because I'm
yeah,
and I thought that was clever. I think that's a fun joke. Am I wrong?
It was okay.
I didn't laugh at anything Dismukes did. Not because Dismukes wasn't good.
You take that back.
No,
He's
just
my
in the
baby.
sketch.
He's my little
just in the
baby
sketch.
boy.
I didn't think it. Moving on, Monologue by Megan Thee Stallion, written by Alex English and Jake Nordwind. First time host Megan Thee Stallion talks about different names she goes by and her love of acting.
So why did they choose to just not write jokes? Like serious. I'm not. That sounds like a shitty thing to say, but there was nothing even designed as a joke there. It was very much like I'm a confident person. Here's what I've done, and we're gonna rule the world or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like, but that's not what a comedy monologue is supposed to be. I thought. Am I missing something?
It didn't hit for me either.
Yeah, I just like. There's a part of her profile that is in itself like amusing, like the attitude that she has,
sure.
and like her sassiness and like this swagger with the way she carries herself. And I think like for her, I think this felt like it was just tailored to like people who already knew her and people that were her fans. There was no real way of like her introducing herself to people who weren't already familiar with her, or like doing anything that was like I mean, there was no like I don't know how to say like what was a joke there. Like there really wasn't any like punchline.
No, exactly. It wasn't designed
not even in a mean way, but just like it's not written as a funny thing. It's just written as her talking and acknowledging, like the names that she goes by, but without really telling us anything about her. and
this might sound reductive, but I think that the last time that I was reminded of a monologue that this, but it was actually funny, was when Tiffany Haddish was there. Because when she hosted, she wore the same dress over and over, and that was kind of the shtick that they did during her monologue. Yeah. And she definitely still had that, confident, like, this is who I am, I'm here now, I'm successful, eat it, everybody.
Yeah.
Which Megan did as well. But then with Tiffany's, there was actual jokes to back it up. And
but she's a comedian. I mean,
and I get that too, but this is a comedy show.
Yeah.
So, like, you have writers.
What?
Well, I mean, you're talking to half the country, and they're going, wow, no, it's not. But the idea here is you have professional top of their game comedy writers, and you had this instead, which I get it for about half the time. Let her, explain to her what are the hotties? Yeah, the hotties.
Hottie.
Have some fun there, but then write a joke or two. The
only part that was like seemed like it was meant to be funny was her like preparing to talk about something that was like probably from headlines that I don't know about, and then being like, I don't know why they took away the hot sauce at Popeyes that they named after me. But she also said it too fast, and it was hard to like understand what she was saying sometimes.
Well, did you understand why she was like, and everyone wants me to talk about the thing? Did you know what thing they're talking about?
Is it because her house got broken into?
No, she was shot.
Oh,
recently?
The last year, I think.
Okay, did not know that.
Yeah, the trial is like gonna go on.
Oh, okay.
And, like,
okay.
The details are sketchy. There's a lot of like questions. It's very gossipy.
Yeah.
About,
okay, so that makes more sense. That was the attempt at humor there. But if you don't know that story,
I only know it because I saw it on Reddit. We've heard from different interviews and things like this, and reading some of the behind the scenes stuff for SNL, and we do know that sometimes the last thing that they do on an episode is the monologue.
Sure.
Oftentimes on the day of the show. It felt that way for me. Like
sure.
they had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of sketches. We don't know what to do. This will work.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem.
And I will say, if you're pulling double booty duty here and you're singing and you're performing, maybe they didn't really want to have her have to honestly perform those jokes right off the bat. Maybe it was like, let's get her comfortable.
Yeah.
Let's let her talk about her confidence level and stuff like that. And so there could be something to be said for that.
Moving on, Hot Girl Hospital, written by Alex English, Gary Richardson, Will Steven, and Devin Walker, his first, I think, writing credit of the season, new cast member. A medical staff, played by Megan Thee Stallion, Ego Nwodim, Punky Johnson, try to help out their community in a preview for a new drama series. Obviously, Hot Girl Summer is a Megan Thee Stallion song, so it's playing off of this vibe that Megan Thee Stallion gives. I thought her acting was really actually great in this sketch.
Yeah, but also based on her monologue and her persona of who she is, like she's not doing much acting here. Like this is very much a slightly exaggerated version of who Megan Thee Stallion is as far as her public persona is concerned. So like it's funny because it leans into like what she can do best and that kind of thing. But like for me, this was like fine. I wasn't like laughing out loud. It was entertaining.
I wish they would have cut to the like the fast-paced TV coming up next, coming real soon. They cut that, and then they cut back to the sketch, and then they cut back to the pre-tape, and then cut back to the sketch. They did it like 4 times.
Yeah.
Do it twice and end the sketch. Again, this is one that went on way
I thought it went a little long.
Because it was
too.
the same kind of thing
Exactly.
over and over again.
And
we talked about that 1,000 times. Escalation, and this didn't escalate at all.
We'll talk about this a little bit later when we get to a different sketch. But did you guys notice Michael Longbottom? Did you notice his
Who's Michael Longbottom?
Yeah, who is Michael Longbottom?
Is it not Michael Longbottom?
Is it Longfellow?
It is Longfellow.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Michael Longbottom is Neville Longbottom's father in the Harry Potter franchise.
Is it really?
I mean, no, I don't know what.
Because I was gonna say, that was impressive if you didn't know.
but-
Like the family tree of Neville Longbottom.
Oh, R.I.P. Robbie Coltrane.
Oh,
Yeah, that's true.
wow. You're getting me sad every time. You're taking this to dark places. All right, so Michael Longfellow, did you notice him in this sketch at all? Did you notice when they cut to him, he's supposed to be at the desk, and he's looking literally at the camera. And then there's like a second there where his eyes just get bigger, and then he goes into
he
the
realizes
thing.
he's on
Like-
camera.
Like
he was waiting for his cue.
I didn't put this together until now, but there had to be something behind the cameras.
Yeah, I
going
didn't
on.
notice.
Yeah,
Oh, so
rewatch
he
it.
was staring right past the camera. It wasn't looking at
Yeah,
he was
right,
looking
but
past the camera for his cue. Like somebody's like, and go.
Yeah.
And he realized
but
that
the camera
maybe-
was already on him.
and camera went too early, and so his eyes got so wide, and then he went right into like, oh fuck.
It really did kind of get to him, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
His whole thing didn't work because I could just tell he was
Just the nerves, man.
Yeah.
And I would be too. Oh Jesus, your first time cast member, you've got a line on the show, and wow,
You
know.
killed it the
I gotta
first
tell you,
episode.
live TV is easy though.
All right, moving on. Pre-tape, We Got Brought, written by Allison Gates, Bowen Yang, Celeste Yim. You know, they've been doing these kind of pop culture type of songs now for quite some time.
Music videos.
Chris Redd did a lot of them last season. He's not on this season.
Obviously, the Lonely Island did them best.
Lonely Island did them. They kind of really, I think, brought them to SNL,
Yeah.
would you say? I mean, at least for the most part, I think
Oh,
really
yeah, yeah.
popularized them.
Absolutely.
And they've been doing them ever since, but they got kind of popular again when Chris Redd was bringing them.
Pete Davidson did some too.
Pete Davidson did some really good ones.
Really, whenever they had like an actual hip hop artist on, they would do it a lot of times.
And it was really interesting because I didn't know who would kind of carry that on. And here we have hip hop aficionado Bowen Yang carrying on the mantle.
I like this a lot.
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
fun.
this
It was a
very
banger
funny.
too.
Yeah.
It really, it's a good song.
It was really good.
We've all been there, right? We've and SNL shines.
That's
when they
actually
take-
my role on this podcast.
SNL shines when they can take something that is so when you're on broadcast television still today in 2022 and there's a 50,000 different programs to watch. How do you find your niche? You have to be you have to be that broad enough to reach so many people. And so when you can delve into comedy that actually does it doesn't matter if you're a churchgoer or you are a Satanist.
True to life.
You've always been that person that's been brought and left
Yeah.
at a party. We've all done it. So when you can strike that chord with everybody, I think I think anybody in America can identify with this. And then of course it's a catchy tune. How do you go wrong here?
The line probably of the night for me that I laughed the most at was what's y'all's trauma? I just thought it was the funniest thing.
Like when she's like, it's only 8:05. He's, I don't want to be here anymore. It's great.
When Bowen Yang shouts, "No!"
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Because you know that.
You pause in your brain and go, "Fuck!" I say that all the time to people.
Whenever I'm having a conversation, I want to be done with it, and I don't know what to say. Oh wow, that's crazy. Everyone does.
Yeah, that's nuts. I can't believe that happened. Wow, that's crazy.
Wow, that's
crazy.
All right, moving on to the next sketch. Deer, written by Allison Gates, Claire O'Kane, Ken Sublett. Things get intense when a dad, played by Kenan Thompson, can't spot a deer from the window. This is so pointless and ridiculous.
I loved it.
I've lived this moment with my father myself.
Maybe that's why I liked
loved
it
so much, and I laughed so.
No, it's right there,
No,
Dad.
Follow my finger.
If the apex of my finger, imagine my finger's a laser. It's not really a laser.
Yeah,
and
this was funny.
it had great escalation in this.
Yes.
Sketch.
It got absurd.
He's got a knife,
but in a great way, like not in a oh geez, it's off the rails way. And I think it's really hard to do silly, absurd escalation.
Absolutely.
And I feel like this, honestly, when Megan Thee Stallion wasn't doing stuff that was basically just a version of herself, this was the best she was, because the way that she kept pointing and and the variation she said, like, follow the curvature of my
really good.
finger.
Great.
It was so good.
And
it was so good.
She didn't flub a line. And and then
she
of
did.
course,
She did break later.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny.
Also, they went from a photoshopped video of the bunny rabbit on top of the deer or whatever, and then of course they on purpose have the worst looking puppet deer.
Oh yeah,
which
the
is
puppetry was so great.
That's amazing. And then I think my favorite part of the sketch was if I turn around and it's not right behind me. Oh come on! It's like, you guys are lying to me, and like, I laughed out loud so hard when that happened.
Because
I loved it.
you've had moments like this with your dad before. It's like, no, it's right there. It's
Oh,
right there,
so
good.
good.
Or you're trying to explain something that's clearly just easy to understand.
It's right in front of your face. Just push the button. What button? The button on the phone. The only thing it says
the
button.
red button.
It
the
says
red
button.
Yeah.
I know. We've all been there. Again, so this is 2 sketches in a row, right? Where universality, is that a word?
Sure.
Universality of the concept, right? We've all been there. And I think that's where they're shining. And it's escalation, absurd comedy, dude. Yes.
We talk about that a lot on this podcast. And this, I think, was a textbook you want to put in as an example of perfect escalation to the end of a sketch. It ended perfectly.
It wasn't too long.
Kenan was great.
The one thing I will say,
hey, we like this button. This one's
don't.
This isn't a bad thing about this sketch. Well, actually,
but no.
Let me say.
Usually, when it starts with the one thing, I will say it's a one bad thing.
Let me say 2 things.
Okay, there's 2 things.
Well,
2 bad things.
I got 5 things. No, I have 2 things. First of all, I will say, as far as the logic of the setup is concerned, I was frustrated that they kept saying it's right over by the pine tree, and they showed the deer, and there's not a single fucking pine tree near that damn deer. You're telling me you couldn't find a video of a deer standing near a pine tree that they could use for that video? There are 1,000 nature documentaries on Netflix alone.
Hey, Brad, go to IMDb and put it in this episode.
I don't need to, because I have a website that millions of people read, and I tell people that I hate it.
Did you see the
Did
rock?
I mention it?
Did you see the rocks?
No.
Did
They
Brad,
also didn't have rocks.
Right, and I was equally upset by that.
It doesn't matter.
It's if you're gonna set something up, if you're gonna mention specific details, put the details on the screen.
Is it hard to be you?
Yeah,
It's hard to find joy in everyday
it's
activities.
hard every day to see people half-assing something like this.
Do you ever feel helpless, hopeless, or worthless?
Absolutely, every single day.
That's a sign
So
of
the
depression.
other thing, and this was something that
Oh no, there's another.
So this was something that was frustrating throughout the entire episode, and this is one of the things that I felt kind
So
of.
you didn't like this?
No, I love the sketch, but this is a specific Megan Thee Stallion thing, because she
This is Ben's crush.
because she has this persona and like style to present that always, no matter what, she has these very long nails on. It's something that she's known for. It's something that she always has. She clearly could not take them off just for SNL. So no matter what character she's playing, no matter what she's doing, she has these long ass nails on. And to me, it's a little detail, but it's also distracting because she has them in every single sketch. And it's something that
that's your complaint.
For me, it's a performance thing. Like, I wish that she never seemed like, with the exception of this sketch, to ever drop the veneer that was Megan Thee Stallion. And for me, that was a big part of what detracted from her performance as host throughout these episodes, because she never entirely felt like she was really playing a character. She felt like she was almost always doing some variation on herself. And even something like that little detail, like the nails for me, it's something that takes you out of it, I think, because it's like she's never not Megan Thee Stallion. Like that's she doesn't lose that part of her image, you know?
Yeah, but I think Megan Thee Stallion is a character that they wanted to work into these sketches.
Sure,
right?
but this sketch is not that character.
I know, but
and because they're
she's not gonna clip her face.
But honestly, though,
she wore a sweater, Brad.
But they're not real nails either. I
know,
think.
but what I'm saying is,
if they're real nails, then fine. I guess I'll be more forgiving about it.
They're not real nails.
You never know.
No, they're not.
There are some women who can grow their nails
They're
very
not
long like
real
that.
nails, but they're also a bitch to put on and take off.
Yeah,
so
I don't think you
do
can
that.
just.
Well, I guess don't do SNL then.
Jeez.
When it requires 6 or 7 costume changes, and you got honestly, I probably wouldn't have noticed if it wasn't for this sketch when she's pointing throughout the entire first half of the sketch.
I mean, if they would have just written it into the sketch, like, I just got my nails done. They're very long. They're pointing at the deer. Like that would have been great.
Honestly, if they would have brought up the nails in every sketch, that would have been hilarious.
All right, moving on, because that was a silly criticism of this.
Yes,
sketch.
it was.
Was
you
it?
weirdo?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
Moving on.
I'd like to be clear. This was not just a criticism of just the sketch. It was a criticism overall of what distracted
Megan Thee
from Megan Thee
Stallion.
Stallion's performance.
All right, Girl Talk, written by Mike DeCenzo, Martin Herlihy, John Higgins, Ben Marshall, and Ego Nwodim. A talk show host played by Ego Nwodim gives out advice to her guests, Megan Thee Stallion, Bunky Johnson, and Andrew Smukes. Girl.
I gotta say, this was a very bold choice to bring in a sketch from 1995.
Girl.
Hey, no, I didn't have a problem with it.
I didn't think it was funny.
I didn't love it, but I liked it enough.
It's a very, very like just simple.
It's paint by numbers.
Very, very simple premise. You know, like even like bringing Andrew Dismukes in and
the bro
like,
thing was funny.
Having him get shamed and then for saying it too. It's just like I saw all these jokes coming a mile away.
Did you pause and read the Ukraine thing?
I paused long enough.
I read the whole thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
It's a real criticism.
It's a really nice, long way to put like what happened. Like you could print that out and be like, "Hey, do you not know what's going on with Russia and Ukraine? Read this."
I agree. I didn't think this was a very good sketch. I mean, it was performed fine. There was nothing wrong with the performance. There wasn't a ton of comedy. I mean, the premise is literally just interpreting one girl differently, right? Obviously, it's said with a different intonation, and I do think there is some of that in our language.
I guess.
With
for sure.
intonation.
I've seen
it was
way
just,
worse sketches though. Like this
Certainly.
wasn't a shitty sketch. It was just fine.
Pre-tapes. Let's go to Please Don't Destroy Wellness, written by Martin Herlihy, John Higgins, Ben Marshall. 3 boys talk about things that they do to stay healthy, including what I do, intermittent sleeping.
So this
I have milkshakes every day.
This felt like they can't come up with a sketch idea, and that's part of the thing, but it feels like a little too true. Like this seemed to me it wasn't their best work. It seemed like they definitely did put something together, and I wasn't the biggest fan of this one.
I thought it was funny because it got increasingly more absurd.
Yep.
I don't think it's one of their best, but I still thought it was very funny and definitely one of the better sketches of the night.
I think I'm comparing it across all their sketches.
It's a high bar. I mean,
it is a high bar.
Yeah.
and so I don't think this is in their top 50%. I think this is.
I think that's fair, but I think that like saying that this is one of the worst Please Don't Destroy sketches is like saying like this is maybe like the worst steak.
And we've talked about this before. This is, the Please Don't Destroy guys are great at absurdist humor. This is what they do. It did seem to me like this was for them as young writers on SNL, 3 episodes in, probably haven't slept much. They've been, if you've been listening to the show, they've been writing their asses off. I mean, they've gotten a ton of sketches into the first 3 episodes. And so I think there is probably some true to life stuff in there.
Sure.
Like, I bet that's where the sketch came from, is they're not sleeping a lot. They're working a ton. But I also think that's what you do on SNL when you're young. That's why you only last for 5 to 7 years.
And I think there's also like we've talked about with the previous 2 sketches, is there's a little bit of true to life stuff here too, because like when you do talk about this kind of stuff and like you're among your friends and like you're all talking about how tired you are, especially fucking at our age too, like you do and talk like, what I've been doing, I've been putting kiwis on my sandwiches and like just like stupid bullshit like that.
It is, right? I mean, especially because we're at this age now where things are failing, right?
Yeah.
And we're more tired than we are.
I am the pillar of health. I am up at. I sleep soundly like a drunken baby. I wake up.
You only sleep soundly when you're drunk.
Yeah, and you're a failure of health.
Oh, that's what the word is. Sorry. Okay, continue.
But you do hear from people, and I'm always interested when people are like, "Yeah," I'm like, "Oh, you lost 20 pounds. Tell me how you did it."
Oh well,
And
I put coffee in my socks, and I drape my socks over my eyes.
You know, just a little bit of cinnamon in what? I just say a little bit of cinnamon when I wake up.
And so there is a little bit of that where I'm like, "Oh, fad diets are so dumb." But tell me how you did yours.
Yeah.
And so,
All right, that's fair. That's fair, guys.
That's how I interpreted the sketch. That's
Also-
why I found it funny.
The one thing that I did like, aside from the absurd escalation of the sketch, was like they had random cuts to like some of the hilarious expressions on their faces, especially Martin Herlihy. There were like a couple cuts to him where he was just like cross-eyed with his eyes
He
open.
does
Like it was
that.
so good.
Yeah.
So are you changing your tune on this? Do you think
I'm changing my tune to say that this still wasn't one of their better sketches.
was it one of the better ones in this episode?
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on. It is time for Weekend Update with Colin Jost and Michael Che.
Stop
That's
trying
my
to make
new
it a
song.
thing.
That's
Stop
my new
trying to
song.
make it a thing.
You have to accept it. All right, with guests, we'll get into that. So let's go to Brad for our regular update on
interplay between the
Did
hosts.
they show enough romantic love?
Did they-
in this?
did
Actually,
they
I will
side-eye
say.
enough?
Tell me if I am actually learning what you're talking about.
Okay.
I didn't think they did to this episode. I thought that there wasn't a ton of interplay.
I saw, and I'll say, here's
Okay,
my guess.
Yeah.
I saw one specific moment that I think that Brad, because I watched this now with
Did
this
they
in
lock
mind.
eyes or something?
No,
No.
there was a moment where Jost was going to get into his joke and Che had just finished his, and Che kind of gave an aside to the audience where he didn't really say anything, but you could tell off camera he was doing something, and Jost was waiting a few beats, and it was kind of this little
And
unspoken thing.
You just eat that up, don't you?
So I
Brad?
did
that
like
what it was?
I did
You
like
just
that a little
love
bit,
it.
and
You
I
just love it.
and Nate,
You
you
just
are
love it.
right. There was not a lot of like interplay or banter between the two this time. Even the laughing like at each other's jokes and like stuff like that. There wasn't much.
But
of
you
that.
know what I'm saying, though, right?
Or
Yes.
where they start the joke and then they start laughing again because the thing
Right.
the guy. Yeah, no, there wasn't a lot of
Yeah,
that.
but I will say, I think that Weekend Update overall was probably like the best part of this entire
jokes hit.
episode. Yeah,
It was
jokes.
very,
there was some
very
good, there's
good.
some really good edgy stuff. There was a couple dark things.
What's the dark one that I remember thinking to myself, holy shit. There was one joke in particular that got a real groan from the audience, and I'm not bringing it up right
Was it the
now.
one where Che was like, it was National like No Bra Day, and he was like, and I celebrated by not supporting
Yep.
women. Yeah.
It's a bra joke,
Yeah.
and it is.
And it
is
was
a bra
funny.
joke. It's a hilarious joke.
But yeah, I thought Weekend Update overall was fantastic, especially when it came to the guests at the desk.
Yes, and we're going to get into those in a second. I will say, though, one more comment about Che and Jost. It's interesting. We know now that they're not head writers this season, right? And I have seen Jost and Che both writing more sketches this season. Che, I think, has a sketch in this episode. Jost wrote the one that we enjoyed. I think it was last episode with the new cast members. It was a pre-tape. So it's really interesting to me to see these two guys take a step back from being head writers and move into kind of just I predict, I don't know this, I predict this is their last season. I don't know this, but they're kind of going back to where they started a little bit.
Yeah.
So moving on then to the actual bits from Weekend Update. Weekend
No, it's not a thing.
Update.
It's nothing.
All right, let's start with Debbie Hull and Stacey Bussey on Disney's Hocus Pocus 2, written by Rosebud Baker, Jimmy Fowley, and Ben Silva. Two Texas mothers, Debbie Hull, played by Chloe Fineman, and Stacey Bussey, played by Heidi Gardner. Stop by Weekend
I do want to
Update.
say, I'm pretty sure it's Bussy.
Bussy, sorry.
Bussy.
To stop by Weekend Update to discuss their concerns about Disney's reboot of Hocus Pocus. Let's first talk about the actual parody of this. Did you see the news clip of what they're parodying?
Abso-fucking-lutely I did, because this is about movies, and I love seeing crazy fucking people say stupid shit about movies like this.
Boy, do I have a podcast for you. All right.
Fox News.
I actually didn't know that this was a
Oh yeah, no, this is a parody.
Even
This
even the names are parodies, because the woman in question is a real Texas woman who was all over news programs complaining about Hocus Pocus being satanic, trying to take the souls of kids and stuff like that, and her name was Jamie Gooch. So that's why the names are Debbie Hole and Stacy Bussey.
That's amazing.
So not only was this great,
What was the other? Was there another woman?
No, just one.
Rebecca Taint.
But so what I love about the sketch is, aside from it, perfectly lampooning what happened really in the news, the fact that this went to like a whole other level. This back and forth between Chloe Fineman and Heidi Gardner reminded me of like the glory days of when Kate McKinnon and Aidy Bryant were at their best together. Like there was phenomenal comedic chemistry between these two, especially when Chloe Fineman,
demon stuff,
when she gets possessed,
incredible.
And if you watch too, you can see Chloe Fineman had to close her eyes when she was staring at Heidi Gardner because there's no way she was going to be able to look into her eyes and not laugh while that was happening.
Heidi was about to break too. They were both right on the edge, and it was perfect.
For me,
you think Hocus Pocus is Satan?
For me,
I
too am crazy about family, church, and laughter. So,
but you're a normal, good person.
No, I love this. Yeah. I loved it so much because there are those obviously crazy people of faith, and it was such a Texas like news story too.
Yeah,
like,
oh god.
And I also love, by the way, that that's a Texas accent for sure. And it's not a complete Southern drawl. It's just there.
Yep.
And it wasn't the whole point of the character to have that huge Southern accent. It was just they were playing literally two women from Texas, and they were just so fucking good at it.
Yeah, they were great. I do want to see, because they were together, those two, Heidi Gardner and Chloe Fineman, are together in a sketch later that we're going to talk about. And I'm kind of loving this pairing.
Yeah,
here.
I hope that this is like becomes a new like dynamic between them, because we haven't really, as far as I remember, we haven't really seen them.
Nobody had the opportunity to do this last year. There were 35 people on the show. So
but
when it happened, it didn't happen often.
Well, but Kate and Aidy always got to do stuff, and like I don't remember ever seeing Chloe and Heidi do something like this together. And so
same.
Yeah, so I hope that this is like the beginning of something.
There were
new
35 people on the show last year, Brad.
Boy. My favorite line when this whole thing, when she talks about kids' souls getting sucked off.
So terrible.
All right, moving on. So the new cast members, the first two, Michael Longfellow and Marcelo Hernandez, they're all getting their time behind the Weekend Update desk to do some stand-up, essentially. Mm-hmm. And this week it was Devin Walker on Adjusting to New York City. What did you guys think of this one?
So I don't think that it was quite as strong as Marcelo or Michael's. There was something good here.
He did finish stronger than he started.
He did. It did feel like maybe he was a little bit nervous up top. I think that's what it was. And anytime it's your first time at the desk like that, I think it's going to be tough to deal with. Marcelo and Michael definitely handled it a little bit better.
And that was rare that you're that good on your first time.
Yep. So I thought it was fine. I thought it was a funny bit. There was some good stuff here. Like Ben said, ended stronger. Didn't start off so strong, but still a pretty good for his first time at the desk.
Yeah, I was happy with how that went. You know what? I really am happy that they're doing this. And I hope it's by design, honestly.
Yeah.
I hope they're like, you know what? Maybe we made a little bit of a mistake last year and maybe even the year before by kind of hiding away
by
these.
Not including Aristotle?
Well, honestly, like not giving them more of a piece at the desk right off the bat.
Yeah.
And especially for Aristotle, because they had him do his character he brought with him. So I think that if you push people out into the spotlight and see if they sink or swim, that's a great idea. But if you don't allow them to do that, and it's hiding behind a character like Aristotle did, it isn't the way to do that.
These are stand-ups, right?
Yeah. And that's not to say Atari is not a stand-up either.
I don't know if his background is a stand-up.
Well, he does do stand-up, but his stand-up style, I think, typically involves stuff similar to the stuff that he does with characters.
That's what I was gonna say, because
he did do Angelo on
Angelo
the stage. That was something. Yeah, something he brought with him.
Yeah, he is a robot in real life, so that does make sense.
The stand-up robot bit was hilarious. I loved that bit when it happened. So.
But again, though, very different than these guys that are traditional stand-up comedians.
For sure.
I have watched Devin Walker do other stand-up before. I went and watched some of his stand-up when he got announced. He's a very gifted stand-up.
He's got some great stuff.
This was not his strongest, but that does not mean that he's not going to come back, I think. It was funny.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It was almost a rarity that the first two were as good as they are.
Yeah, Hernandez crushed it. I still think about that. Like that.
Well, Longfellow did too.
No, he was funny. But
I think you mean Longbottom.
But Hernandez, I mean, so I think that I can tell when I really enjoy a sketch is that I'll do it for other people. Obviously, with Hernandez, I'm not doing the voice, but just explaining why it was so funny. You should watch this one because he did this and it's this. And I did that with Hernandez's bit about Dominican baseball players.
Yeah.
I've told like 3 or 4 people about it. Like, oh, have you seen that? Oh, yeah, you should watch that. And so that's how I know in my own head that I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that necessarily about this one.
Right. That's fair.
All right, moving on. Workout class written by Chloe Feynman, Jimmy Fowley, Heidi Gardner, and Jake Norwin. We're going to talk a little bit about this because this is a little bit
We
of
have a scandal.
We've
alert.
got a scandal. We do. So a workout class is led by 3 different teachers, Megan Thee Stallion, Heidi Gardner, and Chloe Feynman, with very different styles. Now, I'm going to say this. I liked this sketch. Brad did not. And there's a reason. Brad
There is a
explained
reason.
to him why.
So
let's
what did the
talk
Try Guys have to do with it?
All right. So first of all, let's talk about how we watch SNL. I watch it by watching the live recording through my YouTube TV subscription, which is the same way you would watch it if you had a cable subscription and you recorded it on your DVR. However, you can also watch SNL by simply watching all of the individual sketches as they're released on YouTube, because SNL puts every single sketch from a show, with the exception of a couple due to music rights every now and then. But most of the time, every single sketch makes it on after the episode's debut. And that's how you watch it, right, Nate?
Yeah, usually I'm watching those YouTube clips before I go to bed on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they post them
And then
right
I
away.
watch it on Sunday on the Cock.
Peacock.
Peacock.
People do call it the cock.
They do call it the Cock.
Now-
For those of you
Now,
that don't
Nate,
know, it's Peacock.
when you watch the individual sketches, do you watch them in the order in which they aired?
No, because they don't post them in the order that they're aired.
See, so you
are doing it wrong.
are doing it wrong. First of all, that actually kind of drives me crazy, especially because
Of course it does.
it's rare.
Of course it
but
does.
sometimes there are things that they do build upon with the sketches, and also you don't get an idea of the momentum of the show as it unfolded, whether or not it started strong or got better or anything like that. So that's weird to me, and I wish you would stop.
Listen. I've got a limited time to prepare for the show,
get
and
it, man.
I watch the sketches when I can, and it's typically when I'm in bed, almost asleep.
So,
Before Sunday.
but just so we're clear, like, trust your opinion less than both mine and Ben's.
That's fair. I'll go with that.
But no. So anyway, occasionally,
I love the way that you say, and that frustrates me to no end. Like,
What doesn't frustrate
Like,
you?
yeah, seriously. I mean, Megan Thee Stallion's nails and the way you watch SNL, get some bigger grievances, buddy.
That I think I can watch film on my camera or on my phone, and it's just
Yeah.
as good as the theater.
They give you a bag on Southwest Airlines. You put it in the bag, you watch the movie.
So what I've noticed in recent years, ever since they started putting individual sketches on YouTube, is that sometimes if a sketch does not go particularly well technically during the live broadcast, they will occasionally use the recording from dress rehearsal, because they do record dress rehearsal when it happens, so that they do have some of the sketches that make it live to air, and they have occasionally replaced sketches that have had problems with weird cuts or where like something went wrong on set and it kind of interrupted the flow of the sketch. It's usually not anything that is a big departure from the sketch that actually aired during live. And so I've only noticed it a couple times when I've rewatched sketches on YouTube to like refresh myself or like pick up a specific detail that I wanted to comment on. However, this one, I think, is the most egregious reshaping of a sketch that went very poorly during live, and they used the dress rehearsal version on YouTube. Because the dress rehearsal version, if you watch the sketch on YouTube, has a completely different setup that introduces the class that's at the center of this workout class sketch and doesn't have any of the technical mistakes that aired live. And what aired live for the first 2 minutes was a complete fucking disaster. Because I don't know if there was a camera that was out, if there was a glitch in the control room, but they kept cutting to the wrong people for the first 5 or 6 cuts of the sketch, to where someone was talking and the person on screen was not the person that was
Megan
supposed
Thee
to be.
Stallion a couple
Yeah.
times, and she literally looks at the camera like, come on, what are you looking at?
Yeah,
me for?"
exactly.
Like,
So it ruined the flow of the sketch for me. It had no momentum.
it got her out of it as well.
Yeah,
I think.
it threw off her rhythm, and like it messed up the entire sketch. If you watch the YouTube version, it's a pretty decent sketch. If you saw the live version, it was bad, and that's why.
Watch it on the Cock. It was a pretty good version.
Did they put?
Did they put the?
Yeah, I didn't see any of the mistakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I
And you watch, and it's like is it like a stream of the actual episode?
Yeah, on Sunday.
That's interesting.
so
So if you watch it on Peacock the next day,
I have
Yeah.
heard, I've even heard in reading some things and listening to podcasts about SNL that they probably put that dress rehearsal one in before it even aired on the West Coast.
That's possible as well.
I think that's what happened.
And then the live stream was the one on the West Coast. On Peacock the next day.
Yeah, then
Right.
Peacock,
They just
because it goes
grabbed
the
that
next
one.
Yep.
Maybe. That's interesting. I'll have to talk to some people who watch on the West Coast if they
Lauren?
like record.
Are you going to talk to
Lauren?
Lauren?
Call Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren's not on the West Coast. What are you
But
talking about?
you're a big.
I know, but
big
just
shot.
talk to people.
Just talk to
Anyway,
people.
You said talk
but
to
yeah,
people.
so this was supremely frustrating for me because that made this sketch bad for me. It actually made it so that I named this as like my worst sketch in my
And
review.
that's one of the reasons, that, Brad, that you watch it SNL wrong.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't
Maybe
do it on
watch
YouTube.
it the way we watch it, and then you'll enjoy it better.
Interesting. I mean, it's an interesting perspective, which is also wrong.
We'll see.
But you know.
I had a better time watching that sketch than you did, so
I thought it was a good sketch, actually.
Yeah, but the only reason you watched it and you said this out loud is because you loved Megan Thee Stallion shaking her ass.
I didn't say that was the only reason I liked the sketch. I said it was the main reason.
But yeah, this was very clearly a sketch that was like, even if it is a pretty good sketch without the flaws, it was one of those that was very easily leaning into Megan Thee Stallion's personality, like
But also- well,
everyone cheering while she's twerking
But hold
and all
on,
this stuff.
that was the easy bait. But then the flat butt twins,
Sure.
that's the awesome part.
Yeah, and Chloe Fineman and Heidi Gardner again prove that they are a pretty good duo together. And if the sketch had gone better, I might have appreciated it more.
I don't know what's more impressive. The fact that they were able to use a prosthetic so that Chloe Fineman had literally an inverted ass, like flatter than I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if that's more impressive, or they tried to do the same thing with my best friend and future wife, sorry Bailey, Heidi Gardner, and they still couldn't do it because she still had a little bit of a booty.
So, and what's interesting is that Chloe Fineman's was done so well that it looked like her front.
Oh yeah, it was when the camera just cut to her. I was like, is she standing forwards or backwards? It was so weird.
Yeah.
There was something, though, that kind of took me out of the sketch.
Was it Megan Thee Stallion's nails?
No, because it fits for this version.
No. For years, I've been wondering this, and it kind of reminded me. I haven't been thinking about it a lot lately, but it reminded me as I watched it. Do you guys think I have a pancake butt? Because I've been wondering that. Because I kind of have a little bit of a Hank Hill butt.
That's really funny.
Most of the time when I see you,
Yeah.
I don't see your butt because you're sitting in front of me somewhere, so I can't say.
Next time I stand up,
I
will
hate
you
to.
notice-
I
I think I do have a Hank Hill butt.
I hate to see you go, buddy, but I love to watch you leave, and I'll be looking.
Love you, buddy. All right.
It's funny because when the poster for the Super Mario Brothers movie came out,
Oh, that was funny.
there were some observations because Mario historically has a nice bubble.
He's
butt.
got a badunkadunk.
Yeah, he's got a set of pipes.
By
on
the
his
way,
backside.
it is
set
so
of pipes.
nerdy, like video gamers.
And
to be
people
like-
did say they were like, well, it looks like they gave Mario the old Hank Hill treatment.
Yep.
Hey, some of us have to live like that every day.
Yeah, and
all
his
right?
and if you look at that poster, his jeans look soggy.
Dang it, Mario.
Yeah, I actually have to wear a belt. Okay,
And
Because-
something on his backside to give him a butt.
I fill out some shorts, boys.
Yeah,
Fill out
but
some jeans.
that's when you shit your pants.
No, it's because Carrie Kirk's been making me lift weights, and I got
And you shit your pants.
I got the thick thighs
Oh boy.
and the nice
you got those
glutes.
thunder thighs. All right, moving on.
drunk.
Ben the Stallion.
Oh, yuck.
Pre-tape women's charity, an ad for a women's charity depicts the hardships chilly single women experience in the winter. Before we talk about this, I thought we'd talk about something that it's been on my mind.
Our ex-girlfriends.
No, I want to talk about, because I did post this on Facebook. Have you guys turned the heat on in your house? Ben, you have. We're at your house right now. The heat is on, correct?
The heat is on.
Dun, 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 dun.
Heat is on.
Dun,
On
dun,
the
bang,
move.
bang, bang.
Yes, it's on.
What's it set at?
Yeah, what? That's the next
So
question.
first question, when did we turn the heat on?
Yeah.
And that was literally 3 days ago.
Okay.
Was the first time we turned the heat on. For about a week, we had left the air conditioning off because I like to keep it like 68 in the house. And
Is
so we've been
Bailey always cold?
Yes, always. She has a heated blanket she sleeps with, on or under, and she's got a
Or just in
space
between
heater
you guys,
at work.
Just in between you guys.
And she has a man who sleeps with her as well.
And then what was the second part of that question?
What temperature is it?
Yeah, what temperature do you keep your house?
I think tonight it is set to 70.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Brad?
So when it's been getting chillier in the night, like in the 40s or so like that, it's we switch it over to heat mode, but we keep it at like 70, so it's not like really heating up the house.
At night?
Yeah.
What do you keep it at during the day?
A balmy 40s and 49.
So if it's
the windows open.
So if it's warmer, like in the upper 60s or into the 70s, like as it was the end of summer into fall, we'll keep it at 70, but we have the air on, so that way if it does get a little bit hot, it still keeps it at 70.
In the thick of the winter, do you keep it at 70?
I try to. Bailey disagrees, and sometimes it's at 72.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually put it at 72 when it's like the heat of winter.
Okay.
The heat of winter?
Yeah, like when it's like really cold.
Moving on.
Moving the fuck on.
What did you guys think about this sketch? Did it hit?
It was mildly amusing. This felt like a very like just like somewhat.
By the way, this is written by Dan Bull and Michael Che. I don't know if I said that, but
Yeah, it was just kind of a charming sketch, I guess you could say. Like,
I think this is the first time that I kind of like missed some of the older cast members, I guess. Like older, like just from the past few years. I could have seen like, Beck Bennett doing something with this a little bit more, or I don't know. I didn't think that the cast did anything special with it.
I just don't think the sketch itself was particularly special. It was a very basic premise. We all
I didn't mind it.
Anyone who has dated knows that sometimes your significant other steals like your sweatshirts and stuff like that, and so like it's a thing. Like, and this was a thing where like a true to life thing wasn't necessarily particularly hilarious.
Yeah, I think you're right. Typically, SNL does these things where they do take a trivial, true to life thing that nobody really thinks about on a day to day basis.
Yeah,
and can bring some humor out of it, and then you start thinking about, oh yeah, no, that is. I don't think they got to that for me.
Yeah, the only part that I really like actually laughed at, and it wasn't like a guffaw, it was just like a chuckle, is when they like listed the different hoodies, and it was like Slipknot, Dunder Mifflin, that kind of thing.
Which really did seem,
Yeah.
like. But again, I thought that actually this still needed to be workshopped a little bit, because I think there was some humor there to be found that got left out.
Yeah.
It has some humor, it just wasn't great. All right, moving on. Class sketch written by Vanessa Jackson, Ego Nwodum, Streeter Seidel. I don't think Streeter wrote any of them except this one this week. Usually he writes quite a few more. All right, things don't go as expected for a substitute teacher, played by Ego Nwodum. When she takes over a class at a school in the city, with it starred also Punky Johnson, Megan Thee Stallion, and Devin Walker as the students. What did you guys think?
I thought it was okay. It seemed weird that they put this sketch in the 10-1 spot and had the deer sketch so early on. I would have flip-flopped them. But then again, this sketch isn't as strong as the deer sketch, and I'm kind of happy they realized that and they put it so early in the night. So like it's weird how that works. But it's a decent enough parody of like what you come to expect from satirizing movies like Stand and Deliver and Dangerous Minds.
A lot of these like late 80s, early 90s films that were
And I appreciate that it wasn't just the same kind of like a thing where they were like making fun of the formula of having like the white savior coming in, and it was a black teacher still talking to black students like this and making this assumption, and it was amusing the way it unfolded. I hoped that there would be a little bit more to it than what it became, because it felt like it was just kind of the same joke over and over again, of where like she keeps saying the wrong things about these kids and not understanding that they're advanced.
I wish that the escalation part of this would have been like if she says like, and I'm not like everybody else. I don't think you're dumb. And then the next iteration of that could have been, I'm not like everybody. I don't think you're the dumbest people that have ever walked the face of the stupid. Or like if she just really started getting mean with it, or done something different. But you're right. It was just the same thing over and over again until the rug's pulled out from it. And then it's like, now she's the dumb one. Okay, how do you spell that? I don't know. It was whatever.
The one part that I thought was really funny was when she called Megan Thee Stallion La Quantisha or something. And she was, my name's Amy.
That was good.
Yeah. There was a couple good one-liners, some zingers in there, but I agree there wasn't a ton of escalation. It was performed well. Megan Thee Stallion did well, but it didn't really hit me.
Yeah, you're not going to remember that next week.
Yeah.
No. All right, let's go to favorite. We'll do favorite sketch of the night first, and then we'll go to
the deer.
Yeah, the deer.
The deer was the best for me as well.
Absolutely,
I thought it was really great.
Top notch.
And if you don't think so, you're wrong.
Yeah, you don't understand comedy.
What I also liked about it is it wasn't parody. It was just
original.
Original creativity and absurd and wonderful and silly. I loved it.
Good stuff.
All right, cast member of the night. Who would you give it to?
I think I like Bowen Yang.
Really?
Yeah. I really liked him in the pre-tape. I think he was very strong there. He carried that, and it was one of the better sketches of the night.
Okay.
And then I also liked him in the exercise thing. He's always good.
Yeah.
He was solid.
Okay. I'm going to give it to the pair of Heidi Gardner and Chloe Fineman.
Okay, see,
you can only do one.
He won.
You can
No. First of all, I'm the one who came up with the MVP option. I've been doing it in my reviews for years, and
You
every
still
now and
do it
then,
in your review?
and every now and then,
I had been doing it for years, is what you meant to say?
and every now and then, I would pick more than one person if it applied. And in this case, having a duo such as Feynman and Gardner show up and like really bring it like this, because even in the bad sketch, they are still funny together.
But here's the thing: is I was going to pick Chloe Fineman. Why don't you just pick Heidi Gardner?
Because I want both of them to.
I know,
get
but
the
you can
accolade.
pick
No,
one
because
and then I'll pick the
it's
other.
them together.
What about
it's,
Bowen
It's them
Yang?
together.
What about Bowen Yang? He was pretty good.
I
So,
was
yeah.
gonna, I was going to pick Chloe Fineman, and I picked her a little bit over Heidi Gardner
Because
only
of Nancy
because
Pelosi.
She did a good Nancy Pelosi.
See?
And so she wins out slightly, just slightly,
sure.
because I didn't think Heidi Gardner's role in that opening sketch was as good as she played Dick Cheney's daughter, Liz Cheney. I didn't think that was great.
Sure.
It wasn't a great performance.
But I didn't
Can
care
we-
about that sketch at all.
So can
I
we
know.
all agree that moving into the season, now that we're seeing kind of who's going to get the screen time, it will dynamically shift when Cecily Strong comes back, right?
I hope so.
It will.
it'll be a nice
No,
charge.
I mean,
in there,
it will. But like, we're seeing these pairings. We're seeing Bowen Yang get a lot of screen time. We're seeing, this is all good stuff.
Yeah.
Mikey
Ego
Day,
Dewoden's getting a lot.
Ego
too.
Dewoden's, and well deserved.
Yeah.
Mikey Day's kind of taken a step back a little bit. He has not been in everything like last year. I mean, he was like every single sketch last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And is he writing a lot though still?
Don't think so. I mean,
So-
he's written some. I know.
That's
but-
the biggest thing that I've noticed is not the departure of him, but he's really taken a back seat this
Yeah.
year so far. And I'm interested to see when Cecily comes back what that means for
Yeah.
the whole cast dynamic. But right now, Chloe Fineman and Heidi are leading the way with Ego right there.
Well, this sketch, I think, this was a great showcase of the diverse part of SNL's cast because because Megan Thee Stallion was the host and because they based so much around her and her dynamic and personality, it did allow them to do more racially based humor and stuff that allowed Kenan and Punky and Ego to really get more of a spotlight because they did stuff.
Yeah, Punky was in a lot.
They did stuff specifically based around black characters and black family, and so it was that specific level of humor that allowed them to do that. And I wish that was something that would happen more often, and not just because you have a black host that allows you to lean into it more. But that's
Ben,
SNL's kind of history, I guess.
Ben, you didn't love the Brendan Gleeson episode. I think you did like Miles Teller. I don't remember. How would you guys rank the first 3 episodes of SNL this season?
Brendan Gleeson the best, Miles Teller second, this one the last.
I agree with Brad. That's how I would go. But
I would say,
If yours ranking isn't ours, it's wrong.
I'd say that Brendan Gleeson's episode was very good.
no, you didn't say very good last time. You said it was okay.
He didn't really complain very much about the episode overall.
He got mad at me because I said I thought it was the best episode, or it was a great episode, and then I said one sketch was just decent, and you jumped all over me, and I was really hurt by that.
Yeah, we'll talk off air. So I thought, now that I have 3 to compare it to, right? You've got the first 2 episodes. I think that it goes probably, 1, 2, 3.
Take your time.
It's really good on the podcast.
1, 2, 3. That's wrong, but
Like Miles Teller's was the best, and then Brendan Gleeson, and then
there's some
I thought
the
Miles Teller's was rough.
the lows of Miles Teller.
I
that's fair.
actually
they had a
almost-
lot more peaks and valleys.
I
than that one, for
almost
sure.
I almost put this
very
third
fair.
one equal because I thought there was some good sketches in this.
No,
one.
I won't put the third one equal at all. I think the
You just don't.
I think the highs of the Miles Teller episode are better than the highs of the Megan Thee Stallion episode, but I think the lows of the Miles Teller episode are lower than the lows of the Brendan Gleeson.
No, we
episode.
don't have the list.
Whoa.
Well, I don't think there's lows in the Brendan Gleeson episode. Really, I think there was some okay sketches.
Yeah,
I
think there was only
lows.
one sketch where I was like, oh, this is a bad sketch. It was
Why
just
did you
like
guys love the photographer bit so much?
But he liked it better.
I
than
liked
did.
it. I thought it was hilarious because it's really funny.
Well,
I laugh at jokes. So what can I say?
All right. Do you have a favorite sketch of this season yet?
Oh, a favorite sketch of the season?
of the season.
Yeah.
Probably the new cast members bit from the second
That
episode.
was really, really, really funny. I think that Hernandez's weekend update bit
That
was
one?
my favorite so far.
Yeah. I both
So
of
good.
those were so good. I would
It's
probably
pretty good.
again go with the new cast members because it was so
I
creative.
quit. Screw you both. I quit. You know what?
But you know what?
Found another co-host.
But I think that was really good.
It was
too,
really
Ben.
good.
It was really good. I can understand that being number one as well. All right, what do we have coming up? We don't have an episode next week.
We don't. Yeah, we're taking a break, but we'll be back after the October 29th
We will
episode.
be back.
We will be back after the October 29th episode, which will be another double duty episode where rapper Jack Harlow will be pulling host and musical guest duties.
I knew more about Megan Thee Stallion than I do Jack Harlow.
Yes, I agree.
Ben, sing a Jack Harlow song for me.
Is Jack Harlow white or black?
He's white.
Okay.
Is that going to determine what kind of voice you do? Or?
No. That question was sorry.
All right,
that question was locked and
the
loaded.
edit button. I am on the edit button just to be sure, just in case.
Was locked.
Well, here I go. I'm going to do a rap and I'll
Blizzard
do a
Man.
little bit of tappity tap.
It's Blizzard Man. It's Blizzard Man from SNL. Come on, guys. No, I had that question locked and loaded before you asked me that. Yeah, no, I know nothing, literally nothing about this person.
Is he acting or something
I
now?
don't
think
know
he
who
is.
he is.
Isn't
I'm
he
sure he's
acting
great.
now?
I'm sure he's great.
No,
I
he's
just
in
don't
the
know
new White Man Can't Jump movie.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is the white man that can't jump.
He's the titular character.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, no, I'm sure we'll find out.
My name's Jack Harlow, and I'm here to say I'm going to host SNL in the most fun way.
All right, we got to land this plane before it gets out of control.
We'll talk more about Jack Harlow after he hosts.
After I learn something
we'll
about
learn
him.
more about him.
You know what, guys? Before next week, I will listen to one Jack Harlow song.
Well, there's a good chance we might have accidentally already heard Jack Harlow songs, and I just don't know.
That's fair. Some like a few years ago, somebody was like, "Have you heard the Chainsmokers?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." And then they're like, "It's this song," and I was like, "Oh, I listen to that all the time."
Oh, yeah, it's one of my favorite songs.
All right, hey,
subscribe, share.
Ethan Anderton, where can they find you, buddy?
On slashfilm.com, writing about Saturday Night Live after every new episode on Sunday mornings, sometimes afternoons, at Ethan_Anderton on the Twitter. And yeah, just go ahead and check out the podcast on where you're listening to it right now, or other places if your friends don't like this app, and rate us 5 stars and subscribe and tell your friends and family.
Nate, where can people find you, buddy?
I'm online. You can find me there. And again, as my dear beloved co-host and friend and part-time lover said, please rate us. Please share the stuff. It just... There's no other way.
It makes us feel good when we see that people are actually listening.
We did see some good comments about it, and the listenership for this season is still strong. But it helps us if you could share it and tell people that you know. Because again, we love building the community of SNL for the nerds like us that just love this show as much as we do. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all there. Just search out Nate Locks.
Sure. All right, boys and girls, you got to end the show, Nate.
Hey, boys. First, I love you. Second, be good to yourself. Be good to others. Bye-bye.